Hello, join me on the adventure and welcome to the Mysterious Adventures Podcast. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Mysterious Adventures is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. I want to kind of venture into an area where you're going to be like, interesting, I guess. Well, there is a video game series that a lot of you have probably heard of before that seems to kind of put us in the mood for all of this, cryptoid, you could say cryptoid, Nephilim giants, chimeras, all of that stuff, that Lord of the Rings style, stuff that we talk about on this show, and they talk about on Blurry Creatures, Appalachian Intelligence, of course. That's a great one. The confessional, stuff like that. Obviously, Nephilim, chimeras, any type of lizard men, things like that. Even there could be combinations with lizard men and alien abduction, stuff like that. And it's all kind of tied into a very famous video game series that, dates back into the late 80s, early 90s for the Sega Genesis. That would be Golden Axe. That's right, Golden Axe, and especially Golden Axe 2 when it comes to kind of like almost everything there in a lot of ways. Everything but like, say, Bigfoot, stuff like that. You're not going to get Bigfoot necessarily, but it's fascinating stuff. I recommend whipping out Castlevania 2, and then it's kind of like, wait a minute, this is like, wow. This is like all the stuff we've been talking about. And then it's like, it's just a video game and everything. But then imagine you were playing this video game 30 years ago or something, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 25 years ago, whatever. And, well, more than 30 years ago nowadays, because it's hardly 2026. But imagine you're playing this game back in the day, and then you're, all these years later, and it's like you learn more about this kind of stuff from shows like this, Mysterious Adventures, Blurry Creatures, The Confessionals, Appalachian Intelligence, and others out there. And it's like, wait a minute, that stuff was like real once upon a time and still kind of is and could be again. What the heck? This is all like realistic type stuff? Yeah, and that's what's always fascinating when you hear about the Cyclopses and Hercules and all these other creatures and small G gods and such. Well, it's all kind of here in the Golden Axe series. Again, Golden Axe 2, I think, is the best example, though Golden Axe 1 is just fine. So the series is filled with what we would call mythical creatures, in particular chimeras, humanoid animals that are tall like the Nephilim. Yeah, they're tall like Nephilim because, well, in a lot of ways it's the same thing. Like, what's a chimera? If you've been wondering, of course, that's when they fallen angels may have violated animals as well, not just getting with women and such, but there's all kinds of scripture in the book of Enoch and other places where, and even in the Bible, of course, where sometimes the book of Enoch and the Bible combine, where there was information that fallen angels violated animals as well, and that could create chimeras, like large humanoid animals that are tall like the Nephilim, and incredibly strong and terrifying enemies, like in the video game here, Golden Axe. They're terrifying enemies that terrorize villages, terrifying, terror. You get the idea, but they're really bad news. Really bad, like really strong. In this case, it would be Dark Age times. Like I was saying, Golden Axe 2 seems to match things more than the other episodes, but they're all pretty similar, or compared to like Golden Axe 1 is arguably the best game of the group, but really Golden Axe 2 I think is an outstanding game. And even the introduction is fantastic. It's just got this Nephilim giant-like vibe to it. It's like, man, look at this. And then you get two giant chimera creatures that clearly look like a mix of a bull, like a humanoid bull-type creature, kind of like a minotaur and such. So you get that right on the title screen for Golden Axe 2. Let's see if we can play a little bit of the music here really quick for you, at least the introduction. think, yay, that sounds like, I don't know, like, what is it, like MIDI files or something, you know, that's what like Sega Genesis would be, you know, kind of like arcade systems in the late 80s and such. To me, it kind of sounds like it kind of puts you in the mood. It really does. Like, man, battles with giants. Can you imagine what that might have been like for like Joshua and Caleb and others, like say during that Joshua battle at Jericho and all that? They're talking about these people are like the size of like cedar trees. We're like grasshoppers to them, this and that. And it's like, yeah, look at the Chimeras next to your characters in Golden Axe. The Chimeras and, of course, the giants as well, like the big giant sumo wrestler looking guys. You know, they're giants in the, you know, like with the big sledgehammers and such. They're some of the bosses in the game and mini bosses and such. It's pretty crazy. And it's like, yeah, you're fighting against giants and chimeras in this game. And it's kind of like, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's just a game, it's just a video game, and da 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 da. But then it's like, you're really fighting against giants and chimeras. Like, where did this come from? Like, they put all this in this game? Interesting. Like, you pay attention closely, and it's like, that's kind of fascinating in a lot of ways. So, like, some of the bosses, yeah, like I was saying, the bosses in the game are clearly chimeras and or giants with incredible strength. Obviously, they'd be pretty intimidating in real life. Again, especially without God's help, you know what I mean? Because obviously, how do you think Joshua, Caleb, and others were able to defeat, the Canaanites when they went to Jericho and other places with those huge walls and all that? They needed God's help. It's not going to be easy. The bosses include bull-like humanoid monsters with giant morning stars or maces. There are powerful but not giant lizard men with swords. Like, they're not as tall, but they're like lizard men. And it's like lizard men. Even they're in this one. And that would be in Golden Axe 2, not so much in Golden Axe 1. Lizard men have been seen when people have had visions of hell. Like, say you have visions in hell, and it seems like they're kind of like the gatekeepers and such. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Like, they have really nasty breath, this and all that. That's what people have talked about in their visions and such, like old episodes. Freedom of Thought that led to the Memorial Day episode for Mysterious Adventures this past summer. Lizard men tend to be there. But there's also the other things. They've been involved in alien abductions as well, just to kind of put things into even more perspective. Like alien abductions, which you can tell they're not aliens. They're connected to the devil. These are not aliens. They're connected to the devil, but they're flying like UFOs and such, but also like hell. They're down in hell and such as well. It's crazy. The final boss in Golden Axe 1 and 2 and all them. But they fit in these games, though. I mean, it fits the Nephilim description perfectly. It's a Nephilim. Death Adder is a Nephilim. Like, you've like Golden Axe 1 in particular. That's where actually Golden Axe 1 is a little better when you get Death Adder and ultimately Death Bringer as well. They're Nephilim giants. Like, look at them. They're Nephilim. Like, their way they're built, they're ripped, they look like they're about 8 to 10 feet tall, and his eyes are glowing, which again you often hear about in conversations when people talk about Nephilim and such, historical writings and such, legends, myths, and this and that. Their eyes are glowing, and they're 8 to 10 feet tall, maybe 12. Skeletons have been found that come anywhere from 8 feet, 7 feet, like the shorter ones. You could say 7 foot, the shorter one, yeah, 10 feet, 9 feet, 12 feet. Monsters, absolutely massive people. But yeah, Death Adder absolutely fits that description. Probably about 8 to 10 feet. His eyes are glowing, like I was saying. Not to mention that Death Adder is in possession of the actual Golden Axe, which is a massive axe that a normal-sized human being would never be able to wield. It's too big. And obviously, in archaeological finds, they found massive swords, massive axes and spears that normal human beings would not be able to wield, which again is further and further and further and further proof, along with obviously the giant skeletons, 8 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet, that there's, it's 1,000% proof that all of this was real. This is all real stuff here. This isn't just video games, myths and legends. This is real stuff. It's crazy to think, and it's cool. It's kind of cool that these were all put in a video game without really saying, oh, look at this, it's a Nephilim giant. No, it's Death Adder. It's just a bad guy in a game. He's a big, powerful guy. Yeah, he's a giant. And it's like realistic type stuff when you think about it, even though it's just a video game. But all of this ties nicely to what really was happening in the world in the days of Noah and also after that, dating up to at least the time of David and Goliath, but also even into our soils in North America, along with the world over, the Solomon Islands, all over the place. Obviously, Canaan, that's where all that kind of, a lot of that post-flood era giants and such, that's kind of where they, a lot of that general areas where they kind of were. And then after the Battle of Jericho, a number of them scattered around the world. South America, of course, there was talk about golden-haired giants in South America in ancient times before the Nazca lines were made. A conversation about that in the Nazca lines episode for Mysterious Adventures. It's fascinating stuff. It really is. It really is. And, of course, talk that, obviously in the Bible, the Lord says basically that, that potentially all this will happen again, because as the Bible says that in the end it will be like the days of Noah. It'll be as the days of Noah. So pretty wild stuff at the end of the day. A lot of this was actually real and will be real again. It's kind of scary and really crazy at the end of the day. It makes you wonder where the designers of this game got their ideas for the enemies and the characters in this game. Yet for people and shows like us, it's really a good thing, because it kind of puts us in the story and just how intense things really were. Imagine Native Americans, like the whole Native American stories and legends of major battles with giants. Can you imagine that? Like, this real stuff in ancient times on American soil. Must have been really something. Evidence of their presence here in the United States is overwhelming. Even here in Minnesota and, of course, Indiana, Ohio, like the Ohio Valley, Pennsylvania, just about everywhere else. I mean, they're everywhere. They were all over the place. And I wouldn't doubt some of the skeletons that have been found over the course of, like Ohio Valley, Indiana, such like that. Obviously, the climate was probably quite different, not because of global warming, but because in the days of Peleg, the, continents were divided. It was more of a Pangea back in those days. So, of course, the climate is probably going to be different. There's evidence of, the Arizona being a tropical rainforest, the petrified rainforest, the petrified forest and such. It's like plain as day that it was different back then. So there's that conversation. I wouldn't doubt a number of the skeletons and giants that were found, especially the ones really deep into the earth, may have been pre-Adamic, not pre-Adamic, but pre-flood. So that's also a strong possibility that some of that old stuff was going on. There's also evidence, though, of obviously Canaanite and such fingerprints on things all over the place, including in Jekyll Island, which is another episode we're going to get into at some point, probably not too far from now, because that's a really interesting thing. Like Canaanite, it's a Canaanite like altar basically towards like the false gods, the small g gods, and all of that. So Jekyll Island of all places, which is fascinating, but that'll be again saved for another episode right here. I don't anticipate this being a super long episode, but again, an intense conversation looking at the characters in these video games and how they tie directly to all of this. Like, oh my gosh, look at Death Adder. Like, he looks like a Nephilim. He absolutely does. Other conversation as well. So at the time I'm recording this episode, I'm still kind of trying to get a what do they call it? A swapcast. It's like a swapcast with the with Appalachian Intelligence. So yes, we've been in touch. Ryan is the main guy right now. It used to be Justin and Ryan, which is obviously a nice duo. But during the course of time, like Justin has not been as available, so it's mostly been Ryan, and then bringing in guests and such. So guests like me and such, maybe for swapcast episodes and all of that, where we kind of help each other out in a lot of ways. So depending on the release of this show, at the time I'm recording this right now, that show has not been recorded yet, but odds are that show will be released before this one. That's what I'm guessing, depending on how things go. But of course, if our plans are canceled and delayed for a while, like postponed for a while, we'll probably release this one first. So this is either going to be episode 20 or 21, but preferably the Appalachian episode, Appalachian Swapcast, will be episode 20, and this will be 21. So apologize if that sounds kind of weird, but sometimes that's how it goes. And I'll probably bring up some of this conversation in my conversation with in my episode Swapcast with Ryan the whole Golden Axe connection. Not sure how interested he's going to be in that, but maybe he'll think it's pretty cool as well, because it's like, I mean, if you want to play a video game, that kind of puts you in the mood for a lot of this stuff, this blurry creature type stuff, pun not intended. It's kind of a cool game to, again, kind of put you there. Kind of put you on the scene, put you right there, like, look at that, you're fighting against the Nephilim. And just imagine being the characters fighting against these people. Holy crap, fighting against these bad guys and such. Imagine being the Native Americans in the past. Like, it's scary, like I was talking about earlier. Like watching videos like giants in Indiana. There was a lot of activity in Indiana, at least the land of Indiana. You know, it could be thousands of years ago or whatever. Heck, some people have said they've seen giants in modern times. And, of course, a lot of that is probably going to be making a comeback. As we get deeper and deeper into the end times here, because we're getting closer. It's 2025. Wormwood, there's a possibility that thing's going to hit the earth around April 13th, Friday the 13th, so to speak, 2029. We'll see how that happens. Wormwood is in Revelation. But, you know, obviously I'm not coming up here trying to be a prophet saying this is going to happen on this date, because that's not my style. I'm not into putting dates out that's like 99.999% incorrect. In fact, it's pretty much 100% incorrect. Like, Jesus is coming back this day. Excuse me. God is the only person that knows that. So anybody prophesying that is not really on the right ball there at all, to say the least. But, yeah, I've always found that cool. Like, I remember playing Castlevania, you know, after listening to these type of shows, Blurry Creatures. I mentioned there about a million times already, confessionals and such, but anything involving giants. Heck, even there was extended conversation about Nephilim and giants, of course, on Final Hour podcast. Not lately, but like off and on, especially in the summer of 2023, when I really started getting into this kind of stuff more heavily. Even though I was getting intrigued by it a bit, watching YouTube videos dating back to 2018 into 2019. When I was fairly new, moving back to Golden Valley again. And it was like, this is cool stuff. But then that kind of led to a flat earth conversation, and then I immediately stopped watching some of those hosts, because it turned out they were massive flat earthers, and basically you're a moron if you don't think the earth is flat. And it's like, I don't want to listen to that kind of nonsense. It's okay to have an opinion, but when you start basically telling me I'm a moron if I think the earth is round, you lost me, buddy. I'm sorry. I think that's, yeah, you're the crazy one when you start talking like that. Like, my God, you know, I don't have to call you crazy, but you call me crazy for thinking the earth is round? Really? Okay, sure. Anyhow, I don't want to get in a fight with anybody in that conversation. You have a right to your opinion, and I'm not going to diss you at the end of the day. So the only thing I'm totally against is, like, obviously, devil worship, witchcraft, worshiping false gods. You know, no thanks. I'm not even going to touch that in a million years. So, with all that said, but just thought I would kind of jump on here, and I do apologize for the lack of episodes, generally speaking, for the extended period. Of course, obviously, things got busy. I got in a car accident late in November the 24th, which definitely hampered things as well. Obviously, kind of you get busy, you have to kind of fix things, you have to kind of, I don't know, rearrange things, eventually get your insurance all set up, get a different car, because this one was totaled, unfortunately. And again, I was also in a lot of pain in my, I had a bruised chest, basically, and bruised ribs, even the bruised leg as well, but that only hurt for a couple of days, even though the bump is still, it's definitely far reduced from where it was. But bruises are bruises. Bone bruises take a long time to heal, so there's that. I could still feel a small bump in my center chest area, which is like frustrating. It took about a month to be able to even sleep in a bed. I was just sleeping in the lazy boy, because you can't really sleep a certain way when, like, your chest and your or your ribs hurt. You can't really lay down the way you want to, and you sure as heck have a hell of a time getting up. Oh man, like when you have to get up off of the bed when you're laying flat, almost impossible if you're in a ton of pain. So good luck with that. Yeah, just long story longer. It was not a fun 2-3 weeks especially, but then things started to get a little better. I started being able to spend part of the night in bed and then have to get up as things got sore by about 5ish a.m., moving over to the lazy boy. But yep, it was all bruises, not broken arms or anything, and of course just I don't know, just crazy, like scary stuff. Let's just say scary stuff, and we'll leave that where that is. Nobody else was hurt, so that's good news. Nobody else is hurt. That's all you really need to know at the end of the day. And no, I was not driving drunk either. So, no, that is not my cup of tea. Never has been, never will be. Though other people that may have made mistakes in their life, God bless you. I hope you can turn things around. But we'll get off of that. Yep, I've kind of ventured all over the place here, but that's why we call it Mysterious Adventures, I suppose. Might as well call it that, right? I hope you've enjoyed the episodes, like the AI thing, like the recent AI episode. Just again, trying to kind of put into perspective as to how, like, they shall not cleave. And it's like more or less, AI is not going to cleave, like an AI living thing, sentient thing, is not going to be able to cleave with a human being. So that's why I got into that. I hope people found that interesting. I don't think it got a good number of listeners. It just didn't reach people. And I think this show's having a hard time reaching people. That's part of it. Obviously, there's so many podcasts out there. Whether you make good content or not, it feels like it doesn't really reach people unless you're already big or something. That's kind of almost what it feels like the stock market. You have to have money to make money, that kind of thing. Otherwise, you're just going to be inching along forever. But no, I've had some good days in the stock market, but it kind of feels that way with the podcasting. It's not what it used to be. Like, I'm an old podcaster doing shows many years ago where it looked like the shows were getting noticed for a while. And then as more and more shows pop up, you don't get noticed. And then this one, I was really, really late to the party, starting it finally in February 2025. So it's kind of still like a rookie year, you could so to speak, in the Nephilim giant cryptoid conversation, even though I've very much been interested in it the last few years. Thanks to a lot of these good shows. But in case you're listening to this after an Appalachian Intelligence swapcast with Ryan was made, just want to, again, thank Ryan. Thank you so much for having me on there. Just in case this was afterward, and otherwise, again, unfortunate if, say, it's been postponed or something. So we'll just have to wait and see how all that turns out at the end of the day. I've been kind of babbling on and on here, and I apologize. But really hope you do enjoy this show and can share it with your friends. Really, I love doing this. I really do. The conversation is a lot of fun and it's extremely fascinating. And yeah, I mean, I would love to collaborate with Appalachian Intelligence. I mean, what a place in the United States of America for this kind of conversation, by the way. I mean, there's so much open space, beautiful land. You know, you got the Smoky Mountains, which are the Appalachian Mountains. And it's, I mean, it's just perfect for everything. Giants, maybe not chimeras, but who knows? Well, yeah, maybe, like Wolfman and such. That's a chimera. Who knows? Mothman, that could be a chimera type of thing, or more of like just a spirit, I guess. I have no idea. But obviously Bigfoot, there's all kinds of debates of what a Bigfoot is. Is it an organic being? Is it like a Neanderthal? Is it spiritual? Is it a Nephilim, which I'd say like a chimera, which is basically a Nephilim animal. Which is kind of where I'm leaning, that's what a Bigfoot is a chimera animal, like a Nephilim animal, like a chimera type of thing. But some people generalize chimeras just as one thing, like a big giant, like a griffin type creature, where it's like half part lion with wings and such. But I think, but I always saw a chimera as something that's a mix of, like, it's a humanoid animal, like angel and animal type of thing, where it's a very powerful creature that could be very difficult to defeat in battle. So yeah, we're talking dangerous stuff. But with all of that said, please do share this show with your friends and family. 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other apps that may allow you to do so, but especially those two. Join the YouTube page. There should be a link in the show description, Mysterious Adventures 79. Same with the Instagram, the Facebook page, and such. Thank you again so much for listening. God bless all of you so much. Thank you so much, and join me on the next adventure.